Annyeonghaseyo! Welcome to Afternoona Delight, where Leah, Megan, and Amy, romance novelists and your K-romance guides. So grab some dekboki and listen to your new favorite unnies.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hi there.
It feels so good to say all of them. I missed you guys so much.
So I don't know if you heard that I had Grace and Sarah impersonate you guys in our Twinkling Watermelon.
I didn't.
So
I didn't listen to yet, but I have to because Sarah
did the hey everybody.
Yeah. Oh God, I did. I really missed you guys. Well, I saw Leah in person, but still, we have not recorded in a long time.
No, and I've not seen your faces and
I know.
Except for like photos since until today. So
yeah, it's very good to see your faces.
It's been like, I would say a month, maybe 5 weeks.
Since we've all been together.
Yes,
because even before anybody like left on trips or whatever, you and I just recorded what do you call it, Queen of Tears, and then Megan and I did Lovely Runner.
Oh yeah,
but we didn't all see each other on that night.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Because we did that all in one night, but we weren't all together. So yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, so if you're at home listening, you'll have just noticed that our pods have been we've gone through our rogue episodes where we have a one-off host who kind of comes up with what their show is going to be about. We did have a question though, that because tonight is our Uncensored, and we did have a question tonight that made me laugh, which was like, when it's an uncensored pod, it always makes me wonder how much editing you do afterwards for the normal pod. Because then I was like, are you, and I mean, like this question was asked with good intent, but it made me laugh because I was like, well, I feel like we could answer that and come up with many different ways to be like, well, we edit it so much so people are like, what is wrong with you? To like, I can't tell a difference. So is that good or bad?
Right. Well, that's a good question. So there wasn't any clarification as far as
no. And so I think I was just thinking how we would handle, like, maybe the genesis, something that maybe we have never super duper explained is like, why did we decide to start doing an uncensored podcast originally, as opposed to like our normal pods?
That's a good question. And I think there's many answers that fit that. Like, I think initially we wanted to do something that just let you guys all hear us as is, right? Because we don't edit these. And there will be times where I will say something and I'll hear myself stumble over something I'm trying to say. And in my head, I'll be like, you can't edit, you're not going to edit that out. So just live with it. And it's very hard. But I think that was one of the things that we wanted, is to just be totally like candid. And also, as far as editing goes, it is a lot of fucking work.
It is a lot
that we do, and we wanted a break in our schedule too, for us to all be able to play catch up on the stuff that we are editing, because every week somebody new is editing a show, so we're always working. That's a big part of it too.
And I think for me, like, I like the idea of just having a show that wasn't as structured, because so for a while we absolutely needed full structure because we were also really nervous.
I mean, we would read the script, like read it.
I know, like we would type out every answer, and like if I deviated from what I had written down, then I would fully stumble and I couldn't keep going. So like that's the way we were when we first started. But obviously now we're much more comfortable. It's fine. And there are some topics that we don't think would take a whole show. But we still kind of want to talk about, or sometimes we just want to be like, hey, this is what we're watching. We just want it to be a little bit more freeform. And I do really enjoy these episodes. I love the structure of the deep dives and everything, the trope talks that we do. But I also find value in this. And also, excuse me, see, that will not be edited.
Nope.
And also, I think like we have more, I guess I like you guys to hear our rapport sometimes that's not as scripted.
Yeah, and I think that's something that the trope talks do, but this kind of like happened maybe even before we started doing trope talks, was just the idea that I want to keep doing this for a really long time. And we have different tastes and things that will excite us. So like if we start a drama and two of us or one of us is like, I'm all in on this. And then someone else is like, I'm kind of feeling it. Or look, I'm just not even that interested. Like this is just not my thing. We don't want to get to the point where we're watching stuff as homework because then that takes away from like the fun of it. And so, there's going to be times when we're all going to align and we're all going to watch something together, and that's great. And we definitely want to keep that energy. But it was also to just give more space and breathing room to the fact that part of us doing this, like we're not doing this as our job. We're doing this because it's fun and we want to keep it fun. And that's going to mean that we keep creating because it feels enjoyable. It doesn't feel like a homework assignment.
Yeah, for sure. That's the thing. I think exactly at these episodes just feel like a fun time. Just a fun amusement park
fun time. And I think, and we talked about this, I talked about this with Sarah and Grace when we did Twinkling Watermelon. I do think giving us that breathing room and, not just with the Uncensored, but also being okay with sometimes I'm not going to be on a show because you guys watch something or vice versa. I think we've learned a lot of different ways to keep the balance in what we're doing here because it is like a full-time job, except we love doing it. And we want to still, like, we started this because we love K-drama and we want to keep loving K-drama, which means we should be able to watch what we want to watch. And I think the loosening of our structure has helped us do that. And a great development that's happened in the past, couple of years is that we've brought the Patreon into the Uncensored. And I think that's been such a great addition that we get to interact with our listeners by way of you guys providing us content.
You do. And that's been really helpful and also fun for us because it gives us a creative break in a way, We do
except it gives us homework too. It sometimes gives us homework.
Yeah, sometimes they do.
We'll put up the Patreon call for questions or whatever, knowing that somebody's going to have an assignment.
But something that the Patreon, just another shout out if you're listening and you are part of the Patreon that I want to appreciate is that it is nice to have there be an element of interaction with the folks that you create content for that's back and forth. And that happens in writing with readers reaching out. But in this case, this is where I feel like Patreon fills it. It is fun to have the back and forth to hear different perspectives. Also to be called out or to have people to be in on the inside joke. So something that brought me a lot of happiness in the last month was when you were on your cruise, Amy, and you were in Belfast.
Yes.
And Stuart, one of our Patreon listeners who lives in Belfast.
Which I didn't realize at the time.
Right. Snapped a photo of the harbor.
Of my boat.
And there's a shot of your cruise ship with a ferry in front of it. Harkening back to our years-long debate of Megan discussing
boat or cruise or ferry. Yeah.
The cruise or ferry debate of Megan's trip to, was it the Bahamas?
Yeah. Florida, the Bahamas.
And to have him be cruise or ferry. That kind of stuff just gives me so much joy because it feels like I have friends, and that's with the few times that I've had the luck to meet up with Patreon members too, has just felt really fun, and general listeners too, to feel like on some element we know each other a little bit. Although I do then have the worried feeling to be when you hang out with your grandparents or with family and you're God damn it, they're telling the same story again. There have been times where I've tried to say something, they're we already know this about you. And I'm
yes.
No, you already know my bullshit.
You just can't tell a new story. Right.
In my family, if you tell the story more than one time, you hold up how many fingers you've told it. So if my mom tells, my mom is notorious for telling the same story over and over, and my brother and I will just hold up 3 fingers. We've heard this story 3 times, Mom, and she goes, "Oh, stop it!" She gets so mad. So you guys can do that to us. You're okay.
I love it. I love it, and I love that our listeners are comfortable enough to drop into my DMs like Stuart did and be like, "So are you on the Norwegian Dawn?"
That's
And this is before I saw, because I had very limited internet. So I only had internet when I was on the boat. because I was trying not to use my data because my phone plan is outrageous. So I only had internet when I was on the boat, and it was like shitty internet. And so I saw Stuart's DMs before I saw you all talking about it in Slack. So I didn't know. And he's like, "Are you on the Norwegian Dawn?" And I was like, "Yes." Why? Like, part of me was like, "Is he?" Like, do I have a friend here? Am I gonna meet Stuart? Oh my God, what am I wearing?
Is my hair done?
Do I have humid boat hair? Like, I don't know. And that was on my birthday too, because I was in Belfast on my birthday. And
Oh, happy birthday.
thank you. Thank you. And so he wrote back, he's like, "I promise I'm not stalking. I was at work." But then he shows me pictures of my ship.
It's so crazy.
I was dying. It was so funny. I love I love that. I love that we have this.
Definitively say though, you were on a cruise ship.
I was on a cruise ship. I mean, there were 13 floors, like 700 restaurants. I didn't need to have like a granola bar in my pocket to keep me afloat.
No one had to make you peanut butter crackers. So
No.
There was a full restaurant on my cruise. Leah and I were, however, on a ferry that took us from Brooklyn back to Manhattan. That was a true.
We were. I believe the crossing time was somewhere in the vicinity of about 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, we like went up top, and I was like videoing, and all of a sudden we were just like at the dock again. I was like,
crossed a river.
It was very quick.
Very quickly. But I can't wait till the time that we can all hang out and do something in person. We have been slowly talking about the idea of doing some meetups, maybe even like a recording in a group dynamic of some sort. Just because it was really fun to get to see Megan in human form. You can listen a little bit about our time in the episode I did, Leah and Megan Take New York, where we were laying in bed so in our fill, honestly. Yeah. I hope we showered. I don't even know if we showered.
No, we didn't. That was when we did, as Leah says, like a death march in the rain. Right? Wasn't that night? And we get back and we're just like gross and half wet, and we're just like laying in her bed recording.
What y'all just missed, which you don't get to see when we do our recordings, is Leah just literally opened a freeze pop with her teeth for her daughter.
You did.
I did. My daughter. So yeah, it's really hot here, and so she keeps bringing me Otter Pops to open. And I don't have a pair of scissors, and I wasn't going to stop the recording. So yeah. But after that, I went to Michigan and I got a pedicure with my mom, and my feet were so trashed after New York. Like,
oh my God,
my feet were not #thriving. But I was like, so I'm going to go get a pedicure so they can become #thriving. So then when I meet someone randomly from the Patreon, I'm not like, please do not look at my pineapple feet. I am fresh and fancy free. So I sit down and this person's like, WTF is going on with your feet? And
right.
I've been walking a lot. Everything was a little bit like, you
had a reaction. You had a reaction.
I had a reaction, but I felt like it was an over-judging reaction for what the situation required. I was like, my feet, I didn't like pull them off, and there were tentacles and barnacles. It just looked like they'd been like, I was like, people
well used,
but like ready to be put back together. But I didn't feel like the wheels had fallen off the bus. It wasn't like I was like, here is my fungal infection, have at it. I was more just like, I don't want to give details because I just feel like, I need people to not like look at me and be like barfing in their mouth. But it was just like, my feet just looked like I'd walked around in New York City for 3 days doing like 25,000 steps a day.
And one of them, you did Birkenstocks I still cannot.
I saw a picture of you in Birkenstocks, and that was my thought, was you are walking around New York in Birkenstocks.
I did shower my feet the minute I got in the door, though.
It wasn't even, well, it is that, but it's also like
the comfort. I know Birkenstocks are comfortable, comfort. But they are not trotting around New York shoes.
Look, I was in my Nazareth era. I was let's go to like give me a toga. Let's go.
I came home with blisters, and I usually do. I mean,
That's
like
what I'm
it's not
trying to
like
say.
I
I had blisters on my feet, and he made it
right.
like it was a big deal. And I'm like, these. I'm clearly not the first person you've ever dealt with who's had a blister.
Yeah, I'm like still my feet are like still recovering from New York, like for
Okay,
real.
we need to steer this
Okay, sorry,
somewhere other. There's been
sorry.
much foot talk
Okay, sorry.
that I don't even know where would I
Here
thread
we're
the needle
going. I got a
here.
segue. I got a
We're in
segue.
our Quentin
I have a
Tarantino
segue.
era.
I have a segue.
Okay.
You can be granted a hall pass, not even a hall pass, a parallel universe happily ever after with any K-drama character of your choice. But to earn that true love,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to take the flat of your tongue and lick it up their bottom of their foot.
Oh my God.
Who's it gonna
This is not where I wanted this to go.
What kind of segue is this segue? This is taking us deeper to the depths of depravity, Leah.
Who are you
I was
picking?
looking forward to seeing you again. And now
wanna know
I'm
who you're picking.
considering muting you.
Flat
Uh,
of the tongue, heel to toe, full tongue, not like the tip. You've got to do like the flat.
you know what? I'm gonna say right now, Tae-Goo from My Sweet Mobster. I'm just going with the first guy that came to mind because he wears proper shoes the whole time. Like I can't go with someone who's like parkouring, like healer. But Tae-Goo wears like really nice, expensive shoes, and I bet he bathes really well. So that's what I'm gonna go with right now.
Look, I'm I'm going because there was a question about like more mature heroes. So I'm going with Uteo. Because that
Yes,
guy, he gets pedicures.
absolutely,
He gets pedicures. He's got great feet.
absolutely.
He's got great feet.
All
I
right.
support it.
I'm going.
If you say
Goo.
Gume,
No. We had June is who I'm going with. I'm in my We Had June era.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't care if he's running on a treadmill all day.
yeah.
I will receive what he has to give me, and I will say thank you. Thank
Blisters and all.
you.
Blisters,
Blisters and
horns,
barnacles.
bunions.
Doesn't have blisters and barnacles because he's We Had June.
Right.
Let's say he did. Let's say he just like worked extra hard in like the Squid Game universe. Fuck it. I can get over it. I'll use some mouthwash after. I don't care.
You know what? We Had June is so perfect. He probably doesn't even have feet. They are probably marshmallows.
His blisters are like adorable little like
Right.
sunshine pockets of cotton candy.
I
Yes,
feel like his
exactly.
feet. I feel like his feet can smile somehow. Like I just feel like
Absolutely.
they can smile.
They have their own. They have their own. I don't know, sunshine. or
You are
something.
welcome for that segue
Yeah.
into today's conversation.
Yeah, like
which
what the
is-
hell?
I don't
If
feel
you
very
have-
welcome. I don't feel
If you have a
happy.
character, if you have a character that you would lick the bottom of their foot from
My
top to bottom
God.
to have a chance at them in an alternate universe. And actually, when I say We Had June, that feels a little bit like I do want to back this up and say I'm going to go specifically with a character, not We Had June, his full humanity. So I do want to
Right.
separate to say I'm not being like a creeper to We Had June.
Right.
We had June's character in Midnight Romance in the Hagwon in a little sweater vest, ready to teach me some Korean tutoring. I'm ready to like get into some lit reviews and get a little licky.
Yeah, that's when I was thinking Uteo, I was thinking of his character in Love to Hate You, because that character would for sure have pedicures.
Yeah, and I said Tae-Goo from My Sweet Mobster because it's specifically that character because
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not getting gross on real people feet. We're getting gross on fantasy feet.
Right. These are characters.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. In real life, Tae-Goo, maybe he doesn't shower. I don't know him.
In real life, I don't want to lick your feet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't want to talk about feet anymore tonight.
Okay.
I'm gonna figure out how many times I can introduce feet to make sense tonight.
Move on.
How about no?
All right, take it away. Take it into a different direction then. The boat is yours, or I'm taking it somewhere back.
All right, well, I'm going to take it to the Patreon because I was given a specific assignment in the Patreon that I would like to share.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
So, our patron Emma is pretty notorious for some great content that she tosses our way. Like we can go all the way back to Kim Finn. She brought us Kim Finn, and I will be forever grateful for that. I'm already gonna start laughing again thinking
I
about the
already
harpoon.
Kim Pin kills you no
I
matter
know.
what.
I'll never
The
be
harpoon.
Stop. I can't go down that road again.
So her assignment was for me to fan cast Twilight with Korean actors. But then of course she went and did it. She's like I'm too into this, I'm gonna do it. And so she made her list. And so I'm gonna go through her list and share who she cast and then do mine alongside hers. Because she had some really good ones. And I was telling her because she was on our live earlier tonight. And I love everyone she picked, but just because I wanted to try and, be contrary and do it myself as well, I picked some different people, except for one. No, except for two. Okay. So for Edward Cullen, she had Byun Woo-suk, and I'm like, I can't unsee that. So 100% make him a high school vampire. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Sanjay's a vampire. Okay. Okay.
Sanjay.
Yep. So for Bella, she had Bae Suzy, which I liked. And I chose Park Eun Bin for Bella. Somebody who has that sort of like wide eye, like ingenue kind of look, For Jacob, she had Udo Han, which I thought was great. And I threw in Kim Bum because if he's a fox, he's a werewolf,
He would be very good.
Carlisle, she had Nam Kung Min. And I like that one, but I also thought a good one would be Lee Soo Hyuk. I mean he is a vampire. He has to be. He looks too perfect. For Esme, you know what? She didn't put Renesmee on here. I feel like we should get into that. For Esme, she put Shin Min-ah, which I thought was great. And I put Park Shin-hye.
I don't know who Esme is, but don't get into telling me the characters of Twilight.
I can't listen to
I know.
She doesn't know Twilight, folks. Megan does not know Twilight. No movies, no books.
I'm sorry.
It's wild to me.
It is.
I know.
So she doesn't know who these people are. So she's just nodding and smiling as if
I
she's
am.
like,
I'm just like, yep, that sounds great. I'm like,
great. That's great. That's great. Thanks for telling me that Jacob's a werewolf, so I know. Thank you.
I did know that.
So Esme and Carlisle are like the quote unquote vampire parents, the Cullen parents, okay? Who have collected all of the Cullen vampire children.
You could care so much less right now. She's like, I
know. I know. Whatever.
There?
Rosalie is the other one I did not cast differently because she was already in my head. So Ye-ji. Like, yes, 100% Rosalie. Okay. Emmett, she had An Bo-hyun, which too bad you don't know who that is, Megan, because totally fitting. And I threw in Wee Ha-jun for Emmett. Alice, she had Kim Hae-yoon. Perfect. And I added Solana. And then Jasper, she had Im Si-won, and I threw in Nam Joo-hyuk. So let us know if you've got a Twilight fan casting. Also, have at it telling Megan why she needs to get on the Twilight train.
I know. I'm sorry.
As a human in this world,
I know.
as a romance writer in this world, where so much romance, like so much contemporary romance came from some Twilight fan fiction. Like you just, yeah.
And it's not because we're saying, I think it's less of saying like you need to watch it because we're like, it is the best romance of all time. I have like a judgment free. If you are hot on it, you're hot on it. If it leaves you cold, it leaves you cold. I just think you should experience it because it is just part of the. It's like saying you haven't watched Star Wars, which I don't think. Have you not watched Star Wars?
No. Oh, because Sarah and I. Okay. Actually, let me bring this up to you because so in last episode when Sarah and I covered Death's Game, my K-pop rec of the week was Klaxon by G Idol, and I didn't know what Klaxon was. Do either of you know what a Klaxon is? Spelled K. Don't look it up, Amy.
I don't know.
Spelled K.
No, I'm actually going. I was going to look up something else. I don't know what that is.
Do you know what a klaxon is, Leah?
No.
Just because I watched everything Star Wars doesn't mean that I'm like die hard Star Wars.
No. This
okay.
isn't Star Wars related,
okay.
but I thought it was.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, does it just sound spacey?
I'm like, am I missing something?
It does
Okay.
sound spacey.
Does
It sounds spacey.
klaxon?
I was thinking maybe it was one of like the like creatures that like hung out, you know.
Thank you. It's a horn. It's a horn. In the
Okay.
UK, they call it a horn. She was like, because even in the song, they're like, honk honk, hit the klaxon, and I was like, what is that? Yeah, but Sarah was like, you don't know? Like she was like, what if they're in a race and like they're racing like in track, and instead of a starting gun, they blow a horn. I was like, they call it like a blowhorn or an air horn. She was like, oh, they call that a klaxon, and I was like, oh. But
No.
anyway, I was like, I thought it was like a Star Wars thing, like Klingon. And she's like, I don't think
That's Star Trek.
Yeah, that's what Sarah said. She's like, that's Star Trek, Megan. I was like, oh my God.
All right, let's pivot back to I'm going to take control back of the bus.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Amy, for your Twilight casting.
Yes.
And thank you, everyone, for just continuing to hold space for Megan. And I love that, like, I'm not even like the most pop culture person.
What is wrong with me?
I think it's kind of shocking, though, that you don't have these things as part of like your repertoire of things that you know. I don't know why. Like, it's like
Star Wars surprises me far more than Twilight, simply because you write alien romance for a living.
I know.
So now I just feel like you're not like the other girls.
I think I am like the other girls. I think I'm just like,
I'm totally kidding, but you should watch it, and then I can give you the characters I want fan fiction for, and thrilled fluttering dick and some sexy feet action. See what I do?
Oh my God.
Okay. So moving on to another question.
Mm-hmm.
This one, Megan, I can handle this one. Amy, if you want to jump in, you can, but you know, you just did some homework. Kalena asked us, which of the upcoming rom-coms are you most looking forward to? So I'm just going to give the names, the stars, and like the baseline trope, because that's what they listed, and I thought that was good. So Love Next Door with Jung Hae In and Jung So Min as like an childhood friends, kind of enemies to lovers vibes. Then we have No Gain, No Love with Shin Min-ah and Kim Young-dae, which is like a male lead is a fake fiance, and there's a marriage of convenience. Then we have Family by Choice with Wang In-yup, which is like a friends to lovers found family. And then we have Cinderella at 2 a.m., Shin Hyun Bin and Moon Sang Min, which is a Nuna romance meddling chaebol family.
those sound fun. Somebody mentioned in the live, and I don't think we got a date on it, but there's the one that's coming out that seems like it's been coming out forever, but I don't know when it's coming to the US. And it's the one where Lee Min-ho is a gynecologist in space.
Oh yeah, anyway.
Like when can I have that?
I know.
When
I
can
have
I
a lot
have
of questions on that, and yeah, I'm curious. I can't.
when can I have Lee Min-ho as a space gynecologist? I would like to know.
So I'm really interested in several of these. I would say I'm super interested in Jung Hae In and Jung So Min together because I love both of them. I'm really curious.
Yeah, that's a good pairing.
I kind of wish it was a little higher concept, because right now I'm not like getting high concept from it. Like I want like a really good conflict, but I'm also willing to wait and see. I would say I'm very into No Gain, No Love, the Shim Min-ah drama. Lee Sang-yi, my only thing is I love Lee Sang-yi. And I'm kind of like, when is he going to be a lead? That's my only thing. He's not the lead.
Yeah.
And I'm sad about it because he was so good in Bloodhounds. To me, in Bloodhounds, he felt like, okay, he's ready for his romantic lead era. Like, when are we gonna get it? So that's my only bummer with that, but I love Shin Min-ah a lot. So and honestly, I'm like ready for a fake relationship. Like, sounds great.
Yeah. So I really fall in the same category as you of my top two. I probably flipped them in what I'm most excited for, mostly because Shin Min-ah is I am in love with her and her feet and just everything about her. She is like one of my like ultimate K-drama crushes and just like so much respect to like they just like seem to exude like being a good person, even though
Mhm.
I don't know them. I'm not hanging out in their garbage can reading their mail, but I just really like them. They haven't been in a drama since Our Blues, and Our Blues is in my top 10, one of my favorites. And I thought that their performance in Our Blues was phenomenal. I thought they acted so well and were so nuanced, and they really broke my heart in like every scene they were pretty much in. And so watching her kind of move into something that might have, it looks like it might have some emotion, but also might go back into like some hometown cha 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 vibes, because I thought that they were really great in hometown cha 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 as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so I like it, and I do like the idea that we've got this idea. I mean, the premise again doesn't feel wildly fresh of like somehow needing to like have a fake relationship for like a promotion of some kind. Like, I don't know. That's not usually my favorite, but there is something that's like capturing me about the fact that the person that she's roping into this is going to be the neighborhood convenience store employee. And I'm wondering if we're going to get like when the camellia blooms kind of vibes out of it or not. Like, I don't know. I'm
Ooh.
just curious to see like what's that dynamic going to be. So I'm excited for that. And then the first one, which I just blanked on the name of it.
It's Love Next Door with
Yeah,
Jung
Love
Hae In and Jung So Min.
I feel like my hope is going to be high that it's like that quiet concept that I like, which is going to be like highly relational, maybe like an Our Beloved Summer meets, I don't know, just yeah, I would like it to have, the family dynamics and all of that. So if it has all that, I think I'm going to be pretty happy and love it. they're both they're also both big faves. Also both in my like why choose reality verse. Like I'm not
Yep.
going to choose between them. I will be the meat in that sandwich. That's there's a lot to like there, and I can see that the Riz will be risen like across the board, and that's fun in a rom-com.
I love that I want it to be high concept, and you're like, I want it to be
Quiet.
quiet.
I want it to be quiet, but with like much Riz and chemistry.
See, I think Jung Hae In, actually, I think Jung So Min too. I think they both can have chemistry with like a brick wall. I
Mhm.
truly believe that it's going to be off the charts.
I
I
love them. I
hope.
love them both, but like I love her so much.
I'm obsessed with her. Ever since Alchemy of Souls, I am
Yep.
obsessed.
I love like I fell in love with her in Alchemy of Souls and I can't get enough of her.
Was
Right.
she the superior character for you in Alchemy of Souls? I don't want to get into like high spoilers, but would you say yes or no? Just simple yes or no.
Yes.
I think, yeah.
Yes for me. Absolutely.
Yeah.
In
You
fact,
know,
I
like,
feel like there's a reason why that drama didn't land as much for me. Like, I think it's in both of your top 10,
mhm.
Hmm.
not in mine, because I only wanted them.
I know.
Yeah.
If she was
I
in it the whole time, I would, yeah.
I understand. Yeah. I get it.
But yes,
I
she's
love
my
her.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I really like this question. This is from Soraya. So, what type of scenes hit you in all the feels? She says we always talk about different dramas that make us cry, so she's curious to know what specifically it is about a drama or scene that elicits the most tears. She says, for me, I rarely cry over romantic scenes, but show me something dealing with kids or a scene where a parent-child relationship is mended, and I'm all tears.
I mean,
That's
that's huge. Like the parent-child thing, I think is huge with me. I remembered, um, Megan, I remembered you talking about like the parent-child relationship in Because This Is My First Life
mm-hmm.
and how
Oh.
that was so powerful, even though Kim Sun Young wasn't on the screen like a ton. And that their scenes really did hit me. And that was a big thing for me in Twinkling Watermelon. Twinkling Watermelon was one of those dramas where I didn't know that it was a father-son like mending relationship before I watched it. Like I didn't read that much about it. Even I tend to read a lot about dramas before I watch them, but I think it was just like, oh, it's time travel. I love time travel. I'm jumping in. Um, and the father-son aspect of it, um, and being able to repair your relationship with your father as his contemporary, because that's what he does. He goes back in time and meets his dad as a teenager. Um, yeah, I mean that absolutely hits me. I don't think I get choked up a lot about the romance stuff unless it is like a traumatic separation, like in Goblin, right? Like there's two big traumatic separations in Goblin. And then like traumatic reconciliations as well. And I think that's why that drama like hit me so hard, like in my emotions in the romance part, because there was much trauma in that relationship that they had to overcome. Um, but yeah, I don't get choked up by just like sweet, lovey stuff. It's the trauma, I guess, that gets me.
Right? It's the trauma. You're right. And because This Is My First Life, Kim Sung Young wasn't even in it that much. But the relationship she had with her daughter was something that hit me in all the feels. And she only had like a few scenes, but the scenes she was in and the conversations she had with her daughter that had to do with the type of future you want and the type of
Right.
man at that time. Obviously, they're talking about a relationship, not that you need a man, but she was talking about the type of man that you want to like lead you into like the next stage in your life, and um like maybe concessions that her mom had to make in her own life that her daughter wasn't aware of. It was like it felt what got me in that that made me cry a lot. And I think what makes me cry a lot when it comes to the parent relationships in K-dramas is I feel like there is a lot of discussions where you have an adult child who's starting to see their parent not as a parent, but also as another adult.
We talked about that in Twinkling Watermelon. Like that's huge.
Right, where you realize like your parent's human and they're just another
Yes.
adult. And they also have desires and a life that's outside of just being your parent.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess since I'm an adult, obviously, like that is a relationship or that is something that I've had to like think about with my own like parents. And so that always is going to get me. It's going to make me cry. Any of the mending, when there's like a mending relationships with a parent and child, I remember I cried at that. Even in Chloe, the like mending
Oh
she had
yeah. With her stepmom?
with her stepmom. I remember
Yeah.
I was really surprised that that made me cry.
I mean, her stepmom was her biggest ally in the end, which
Yep.
I loved.
Yep. And Sarah and I actually just talked about Death's Game. Death's Game, just real quick, but he lives 12 lives and he dies in all of them. That's not a spoiler. That's like the premise is that he has to like experience death 12 times. So like a lot of trauma happens in this drama, but the trauma that got me the most was between him and his mother. I'm not going to get into spoilers, but just that relationship and that drama is what made me just like cry for like an entire episode. So I would say that is the most that makes me cry. And then when it comes to romance, what makes me cry, where I would say it's like Amy, when you know that there is a decision that has to be made that's going to break someone's heart. And then what really gets me is the freaking montage with sad music. If you give me a montage of all the happy times that they were together, knowing that it isn't going to last because something like a big act 3 is coming, and you know there's going to be a breakup, there's going to be a conflict, blah blah blah, whatever. If you give me a montage with sad music of happier times, interspliced with someone crying because they have to make a decision, done, done every time. Like I'm gonna cry. Don't give me the montages with sad music because it's gonna make me cry.
Or what about, to like kind of piggyback off of that, the characters like love interests spending what they know is their last day together.
Stop. And K-dramas love to do that to you.
With because they know about the separation.
They know about the
especially in like
separation.
time travel stuff. They know
Yeah.
it's coming.
It happened in Alchemy of Souls. It happened in, oh my God, and then all the time travel ones. My
A Time
Lovely
Called
Runner, A Time
You and
Called
Lovely
You.
Runner. Oh my
My
God.
God, the one from A Time Called You was just stupid sad. I was actually like mad at how sad it was. You know what I
Ugh.
mean? So th those are definitely gonna be. So yeah, it's the trauma. It's not
Yeah.
like,
I mean, not
oh
that I wish for trauma, but like that's what like heightens your emotions when characters
yeah,
go through the tough shit.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think what
that's
resonates for me and what you're saying is like one thing, yeah, that for sure gets me, and I had talked about this in Our Blues. It definitely got me in Our Blues. It's gotten me in a lot of dramas, is when you're reflecting on that parent figure in their humanity. Because in our case, we are all parents. I don't think you need to have that experience at all to have that, because one thing that's common to all of us living is we have parents or parent figures of some sort, relationship with them or not, knowing them or not. Like we've all come from something, and that kind of sense of being curious of the type of person that they were versus who they are and who they've become. I think that becomes interesting too, because like I know myself as like a young child to a teenager to who I am now as like a woman in my 40s, and realizing that like my kids have these very specific snapshots of who I am and who I relate to. That's like their truth. And they see, and they have also a very honest and unfiltered position because they see me at some of my best and at some of my most failing as well. And
mm,
so I have that with my own parents. And I think that idea of like what have people set aside in themselves to offer something to their child in a story is often something that kind of gets me. Or when they've had big failings and like that trauma and that hurt has built up, and then there can be that moment of healing. I find that always to be really a cathartic moment too. Forgiveness is really like emotionally moving when you have that like sense of peace after so much hurt. I find that to be, or even if you can't have forgiveness, you can have that moment of, I'm going to just put this down now. Like, I may still hurt. May not still want this relationship, but I can also not let this hate or this bad feeling consume me. I'm able to kind of like set it to the side now and like move on with some peace. I think those moments always just kind of like grab me. And then also, if I'm invested and I'm in the right frame of mind, the big sacrifices will get me. Sometimes I can
mm.
watch the big sacrifice and just be like, I'm interested and I'm into it, but I'm not like crying. And then there's times where I get the big sacrifice in, I don't want to give spoilers. In Mr. Sunshine, there's a bunch of big
Mhm.
sacrifices.
Oh,
Mm.
But there is one sacrifice that gets me on like a different level. And it's not like one of the big ones that, I mean, it's a big one. There's two that get me. And but I would say that like they're not the sacrifices that happened at the very, very end finale, but
mhm.
the sacrifices where you're really meeting your end. I do think that also like when you meet your end and your end is like filled with horror, but there's also like you've kept your humanity intact, that gets me a lot. When like you face down the doom and the worst that humanity has to throw at you, and you're looking into the void, and you're not coming back from this, and yet you're gonna go out as like your most authentic self, and you're gonna be able to have the courage to reach to be that person at that end. That gets me.
Oh,
Train to Busan makes me think of that. And
oh,
that's all I'll say. That's a big
God.
one. Where
Yes.
maintaining your dignity at the end and making an ultimate
God, I
sacrifice.
can cry just thinking,
I
like,
know.
seriously.
You know what?
The
Let me,
cinematography of that too, like shit.
yeah.
Like
The
shit.
montage, the montage
Yes. So
of
like
her
and like
of the
and this
baby
is
feet to bring it back. The montage
oh
of the baby of his daughter's feet.
and like the low-hanging fruit of this all, like death gets me when I'm attached, right? Like when I form an attachment to a character, and it doesn't have to be a main character. Um like all the things we're talking about, like people like meeting their ends. I still like one of the biggest ones that shocked me, and I think we were all in the same position, and that I still think about to this day, is in Crash Landing on You. Like Gu Sung
Mm-hmm.
Jun, like I will not, and like if I'm spoiling Crash Landing on You for you now, like shame on you. Like, if
Right.
you're into K dramas and you haven't watched that one yet, come on, come on. But it was one of those things where I was like, well, this is a main side character, like a secondary character, but still like, I guess you can call him the second lead, right? Um, and I didn't know how attached I was to him and how well that character was written until that and it was with a sacrifice too, right? Like it's exactly what Leah's just saying. Like he was his best self that he'd ever been in his last moments. So maybe
Yeah.
that ties into it, right? So maybe it's not just death, but when we have like what you're saying there, Leah, is that type of sacrifice where it's not just a sacrifice, but you are at your peak as a human being.
There's like a victory in it.
Yes, there is 100%.
I would say I'm not going to say which death this is, but in All of Us Are Dead, the like kind of final death,
Yes.
same thing. It's like the sacrifice that this character made, and he was like his best self in that final moment. You know, I actually have I have this question because I think Amy and I cry more than Leah. So Leah, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, but what drama or like if you can remember the scene, although I don't get, well, that made you cry the hardest. I actually don't know this about you. Like what made you cry?
I
Do
feel
you
like
know?
I feel like it's Moon Lovers, yeah?
No, I barely.
No? Okay.
I don't even know.
Oh,
if
really?
No, I don't think I had a tear in Moon Lovers. I'm just very invested. It's like
Okay.
campy soap, drama, rama, Phantom of the Opera, Why Choose, everything I like, just in like a problematic messiness. It's just highly entertaining.
Okay.
Let's see. Most. I'm bad at superlatives too. I'm gonna go with the two that stand out to me that I feel like really, really emotionally got me.
Yeah, that's
Our Blues
oh, okay.
really got me consistently, which is why it gets in my top 10 because I felt
Right.
like the humanness that was in it was very relatable throughout. And I guess it got me in my like empathy every like I just felt like I often even if I didn't like a character, I felt like they were often worthy of my empathy.
Mm.
And even when they were like unlikable, because some of the vignettes have unlikable people in them, some have very likable people. But that one in particular really got me. And kind of just like the fact that you could have this community on one hand. So in some ways, what I will say with Our Blues, I'm just gonna leave it with Our Blues. I don't know if this is the one that made me cry the most, but it made me cry very consistently and like have a lot of cathartic feelings. Was you have that I'm going to use Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha because it's also set in Jeju, where it's where there was some really big emotion that hit me in Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha, surprisingly, for what I thought was kind of going to be a lighthearted rom-com. Then came
I
out
know. And then they like drill you with the
Yeah,
big
no.
deal.
drama.
Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. But overall, there's like kind of a lighter tone, even though there's some like big moments of feeling in that. I would say that Our Blues is also set in Jeju, and you get this like sense of like that community. It's like very much centered often on like the marketplace. It's a lot of people that have like known each other for a long time, children, parents. It's kind of like the messiness of life all kind of like organically together. And so there's that like warmth to it. But there's also this like kind of core of real loneliness because when they go into each person's vignette, you really see them at like their most alone and they're most separate from the group. So it's like a very collective drama, is I guess how I would describe it, where it's a lot of community and a lot of overlapping storylines and how people are connected and related. And you do see people are like in each other's space and business so much. And yet there's this kind of like fundamental aloneness when you show up into their vignettes of like what they're kind of centered with, which makes me think it's like really relatable to all of us too. Cause like we're always like, I often feel like I'm very extroverted and very around people. And then I can also feel like super highly like alone and this at the same time that I can feel very connected. And so it's like that thing where I'm like, I never feel like super lonely, but I can have moments of loneliness, even while I have moments of like community fulfillment and connection. And I think that got me like consistently in that drama.
Okay. I'm glad to know that because I was curious.
Yeah, because I feel like if you asked me that, I would have like a 25 drama list. Like, what drama made you cry the hardest? This one and this one and this.
I know. I probably would still say I'm not a robot. Probably I'm not a robot and maybe Alchemy of Souls, but I'm not a robot was again, I'm sorry. Nothing. I don't think anything. I don't know. I don't know if anything will make me cry as hard as that. I like this question, and I think I'm the only one who can answer this because I have watched both, or I'm watching both. This is from Lisa M. Who do you want as your very personal bodyguard for a week, Rain or Tae-Goo? So Rain, and I'm choosing the characters, just seeing but
Okay,
so
because I was like,
Rain.
I think she's the actor, but
Yeah, no. So Rain is from Red Swan, which I've seen a few episodes, like four. I'm a little behind. And then Tae-Goo is from My Sweet Mobster. And this is so funny because they are completely different because Tae-Goo is more like ex-mobster, ex-con with a super gooey center. And Rain is like not gooey at all. At least his role in Red Swan. He is like all hard steel right now. Okay. I appreciate his conviction because he's looking for revenge for his best buddy. So I appreciate it. So I think there's two things. If I want to fall in love with my bodyguard, it's gonna be Tae-Goo. Like if I'm ready to fall in love with the bodyguard, it's gonna be Tae-Goo because even though he's not super emotionally available, he's more emotionally available than Rain. But if I actually want to survive, I'm choosing Rain because he's clearly the best suited for the job. He will keep me alive in a hail of bullets and explosions and cars literally just blowing up out of nowhere, like from one bullet. No, it's just the car is just like boosted in an explosion. Rain will get me out of there alive. So that's my answer. And it's a really good question, by the way.
all right, I have a fun one to pick just because I don't know, it's fun and it's not about feet, even though I just dropped feet in there. Which is we've just come back from having like vacations. And so not use it could be from this vacation, it could be from any other time in your life that you've done any kind of traveling. What is it's again this it was framed as a superlative. I'm gonna lessen it because I get like stressed by superlatives.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very K-drama. You could say the most, but what is a very K-drama thing that has happened to you while you've traveled? This was a question from Sarah.
So this is not like in a romantic way at all, but I thought it was kind of funny. So we were just on a cruise, on an actual cruise ship in the ocean, in the sea for days and days and days. So a real cruise. We slept on the boat. We ate at
Be
restaurants on the
quiet. All
boat.
right, all right, all right.
So, but before we got on the boat, we went to London a day early, um, because my kids had never been there. And so my mom and stepdad are like, well, because they took us on this cruise, we'll go in a day early and we will do like literally like the hop on, hop off bus thing and see as many like one day in London. It was June 25th. And it was like 85 degrees and like blisteringly hot. And we were doing like the double decker bus thing.
Oh God.
And when we were finally like, we'd had enough, like we had had a day, we were so hot, we were so gross, we were sweating.
Mhm.
And we were like, we got on the last bus that like, we're going to ride this one until it takes us back to where our hotel is. And it happened to be like, we get on the bus and we're like sitting inside because we're like, we're not even going up top because we're getting sunburnt. Like none of us had sunblock on. And we're like, stepdad, we're all like, we're gonna get off the bus and we're just gonna like find some shade and chill. And my son and I were sitting in the very back of the bus and we're like, we are just too spent to get off the bus. And we both just stayed and he started dozing off.
Oh.
And didn't his head didn't fall on my shoulder, but like we were literally like sitting in the back of the bus, one of us wide awake, the other one sleeping. And it was a very sweet K
Oh.
drama moment with my son.
You had a bus snack.
perfect. We
I want to
really
hear about the broken boat.
Okay.
abandoned Megan.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I did tell the story in our New York pod, but I'll tell it again quick. Leah and I, we all really wanted to ride the swan boats, but when we were in Central Park and we show up at this lake, the guy was like, "We have no swan boats here.
Swan
It's
boats are in Boston. That's
yeah.
why.
Oh, well, we're dumb. Okay, so we're like, let's get on these rowboats. Sounds great. And we start rowing, and we realize very quickly that like one of the oars is not, it was like it was broken. I don't, and it's very hard to explain because it was basically how it was attached to the boat made it so that the oar was not going in the water properly. I don't know how else to explain it. You had to be there, Chelsea, because me, my son, and my daughter all tried to row the boat, and we're all like, this thing's fucking broken. So we're like spinning in circles, like repeatedly. And my daughter keeps going. My And so we managed to like make it out to the middle, but there was also a breeze, which felt really good, but that meant there was a current, and the current, so we couldn't just float. Like if we floated, the boat was going to was going to move, okay? And it was going to push us into an area that I was like, I don't know if I can get out, like of a little inlet in this fucking lake. And like I do not want to be
So
that
you had
person.
one usable oar
Yeah, basically.
that you could only use on one side?
Yeah. The other one sort of worked, but only for like a limited. I need like a towboat for a canoe in Central Park in the middle of a city. The lake wasn't even that big. Like I
You
could
were
have
in a
swam.
canoe or a rowboat?
It was a rowboat.
I was
It was
like,
a rowboat.
A canoe's one paddle,
No,
honey, and it's
it was a row.
unattached.
It was a rowboat. It was a rowboat. I used the wrong. Clearly, I'm not good with my boats. Okay. So yeah, so that was, and we paddled back to shore. Like
It was like this way, and we're like paddling. We're singing. We're like going under like the willow trees, singing like "Kiss the Girl" from Little Mermaid, like "Shut up," like just
And you don't even realize that Megan's not
No,
there.
I
No.
did. I was just like, why can't the Ericksons? Where? What are they doing? Like, come
No.
around the river bend, like
No.
catch up with us.
We're
And then
spinning in
finally we're back
circles.
for, like 45 minutes. I called. I'm like, where are you? She's like, we're standing on the bank, like waiting for you to come back.
I was like, oh, our
We're
boat
like,
was kind of
So
broken.
then we had to be like, row back really quickly. Yeah, we were out just being like,
I know. Well, and the three of us were like arguing the whole time. Like, and then we just kept like, and at one point, like I shifted to the one side with my daughter, and then the boat almost capsized. It was like a whole thing. It was a whole thing.
perfect K-drama date though.
It would have been, it definitely, if like, yeah, it would have been on a date. It would have felt like a K-drama date, like a disaster of a K-drama date.
I was thinking about this one. I'm going to do a fun fated mates one because at work this week we were talking about there's like a college prom. That my context is there's like one of the colleges here is going to do a prom, and one of the students is like, why would we do a prom? I guess it's because we didn't have a prom in COVID, but I don't see the fun of prom. And then I talked about how I went to I didn't go to my senior prom, and how I like never had a crush on anyone in my senior prom, and like I never had like the big like high school like love blah blah blah. Like I just never had somebody that I was like, this is all it for all high school kind of big thing. But I did have this like very K-drama-ish, I guess, like fated mates connection that I wasn't going to bring up then at my work thing, but I will bring up here to like you both and like however many, which is kind of a lot of people listening. I moved from Chicago to Minnesota when I was in high school, and my parents let me take the train back and forth between the Twin Cities and Chicago. So it's like an 8-hour train ride. So I was able to do this train ride, and then I would like go to the city and then transfer out to like the suburban trains out by like where Amy lives. Like I was allowed to do this like fully on my own from like the summer after my like sophomore year. So
Wow.
it was a lot of independence for
Yeah.
a girl who was willing to like be like, what good trouble can I get up to on this like 9-hour train ride,
Oh, I believe it.
back in the day.
Yeah.
And there was one day that was like a K-drama because I was sitting and I was surrounded by, I'm just going to like make a speculation. It would be like a Mennonite family. And so, it was folks who were like in plain clothes for religious affiliation. And I was somehow seated within them. And they were basically like, we have our gigantic family. We would like this person not to be here and our family to be here. And the conductor on the train was like, we will relocate you. So I got relocated to another seat where I sat next to like the most like rural, but in a good way, Minnesota jock boy of like my entire existence. Never had met him, was not like a girl that like went for the sporty types. I would say I had like a torrid 9-hour romance with somebody who felt like it was like a fated mate type situation. Like I have never felt in that point in my teenage life, I had never felt so seen or so connected to another person. We ended up getting kicked out of a bathroom for like bad behavior. And I don't even remember their name. I don't even know. I didn't get their name. They gave me their number and I was like, I can't ride in a car with boys. My parents would let me take a train and like do all sorts of bad things, but I wasn't allowed to ride in cars with boys. So I remember they gave me their number and I'm like, well, I'm embarrassed to say I can't ride in a car with boys. So I like, I'm not going to call him. I have no idea who he ever was. Never saw him again. But I had a really, 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 for like it was like my biggest romance of my teenage high school existence with this person. I like don't even know their name.
Dude,
That's pretty wild.
And it wasn't just like a hookup. I'm saying it was like a soul deep, like we were,
I believe you.
like it was like that young love, like
Mhm.
we are having that like moment where like the music plays and like if there was an umbrella, they'd be holding an umbrella out. I would have been kissing the boo-boos. Like the entire thing happened.
You are his one that got away because you never
Yeah.
called. And yeah.
Yeah, they're the one that got away from me. So there we go. So, but I have, that I feel like that is like my K-drama, like if I was in like a K-drama YA, that's
Yeah.
it.
100%.
I love that.
That's
You
a
should
great
write
story.
a YA with that like catalyst.
As like, my
No, you should write an adult one, Fated Mates.
Oh,
That's where
where
they
like you
meet.
reconnect later
Yeah.
on another train. But this time the train crashes and you're stuck. No, no,
there's
no,
a
no, no,
zombie.
no, listen. You don't. No, listen.
You're on your way to your wedding.
The plane crashes, but it's dark. So you just like feel a leg, and it's this guy because he says, "I'm a man," and this is and
I'm a man in the dark. I'm a
well, he's
man.
like, "Hey, I'm okay. I know I'm a man, but like I won't hurt you." And you have to do all this stuff and survive in the dark, and then the lights come back on, and you realize it's this guy that you met like 20 years ago.
There you go.
There you go. Done. Bestseller. Instant.
Bestseller. It's called
The darkness.
See you again on the train.
The light at the end of the tunnel.
It's called The Empire Builder because it's on the Empire Builder train. So whenever I hear there's like a Mason Jennings song that's called The Empire Builder, because like that's the train that goes from Chicago to Seattle.
Yeah.
Like Empire Builder, where young love goes to flourish.
Oh
and
my God.
Very, very long hair went out from underneath an Amtrak bathroom door and caused a scandal.
Amtrak
You're on the
bathrooms
floor
are really
in the bathroom?
big.
I was on the floor of the Amtrak bathroom, my friend.
They're really big. Have you ever like the
No.
Amtrak
Yes,
bathrooms?
I know.
Are
I'm
huge.
aware.
You can fit like a twin bed in there. I don't know why they need them that big. It's very weird.
Yeah, like that song, like Return to Innocence, was essentially playing in that Amtrak bathroom.
All right, we need something to wrap this up. What's it going to be?
That's not feet.
Not feet. Not feet.
Not feet. Okay, so real quick, what are we watching? Well, okay. Go ahead, Leah.
Sweet Mobster, My Sweet Mobster.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say much about it because I know we're gonna pod it at some point. So, but yes, I do like it. I'm still early enough that like I don't have enough to say. Like, I'm in the first few episodes. I've been watching The Trainee, which is on Aichi, which is an off-gun Thai BL. I'm telling you, it is tediously boring. it is a testament to my love of Off Gun that I'm like, I don't care. Apparently, I can watch the two of you like reading a phone book because it is not a good drama so far. I'm 4 episodes in. They're good, but they're like barely like you don't like. I just they're never around each other. It's like constantly like interns in this tech office having hijinks and like breaking shit and being like, "What do we do? We can't tell our boss." I'm like, I just want to see you breathlessly gazing at each other's eyes. Like that's what I'm here for. So I'm still hanging in. It's a weekly, and so I'm just watching it once a week, and I'm hoping it'll get good because Off Gun. I really love Off Gun.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching His Man 3, which I'm enjoying in like a way that like there's one character. I have a very hard. I generally just don't dislike people on sight. Like I generally like to neutral people. I either have a neutral reaction or like a positive reaction. It's rare that I like see someone and just like see them and I'm like, no. I had that from jump with this one character. I'm sure he's a great person, living, thriving, pays his taxes, does good things, but I just like don't like him, which makes for an enjoyable show, but also like frustrating because like I want to be like always happy. And then like this dude just shows up every time I'm like, oh, I'm having fun and this is a fun show to be like, ugh.
God, his scenes. Ugh, I know.
Megan, you feel, I mean, like this person?
Yeah, no, not really.
Not really, not at all.
Wait, yeah, no, I don't like him either. Yeah. It's rough for me because it's rough for me 'cause this cast is very hard for me to like really engage with. And the problem is in season 2, I engaged heavily in the cast. I was
Yeah.
obsessed with the cast. So I just keep comparing, which isn't always fair, but
And I have started His Man 2 just for like that fun comparison, but I'm trying very hard. I've accidentally been spoiled on one half. I know a couple makes it through the show and ends up at the end as Endgame.
mhm.
So I know who one of them is. I still don't know who the other is. I do agree that that second season seems more kind of like the likability factor is higher.
Yes.
But I know a bit of craft dates. They do a lot of craft dates. Like
the craft dates are so cute.
make rattan cup holders. And I'm like,
The
sure.
best. The best. The best. Pottery. They just do all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah, so I'm watching His Man 3 as well, because I can't stop now. But the cast is just not I'm not as into them as I was in season 2, but I'm still enjoying. I'm watching Red Swan. Now that I realize it's kind of a little mock Jung-y, I'm into it. And then I'm also watching My Sweet Mobster, which I am very much into.
So I am the disappointment here where I'm not watching
No.
anything at the moment.
Yeah, that's the point.
I've had a crazy couple of weeks since I got back from the cruise with my bathrooms in the middle of demolition and rebuild. I've been working every day pretty much since I got back, like weekends included. So I'm planning to get back into Midnight Romance at the Hagwon because I was watching that before I left. And I'm gonna start My Sweet Mobster. And I think it's talking about like loving Makjong in Red Swan. A friend of mine who like a local friend who watches some K-drama, asked me for some recommendations the other day because she'd started something. I think it was Penthouse, and it was just too OTT for her. Like she couldn't do it.
Right.
And so she asked me for a recommendation because like I've been feeling like kind of disconnected from K-drama because I've had such a crazy couple weeks since I got back. And she asked me for a recommendation, and like the text that I wrote her back, she's like, okay, I can't do Penthouse. I need something else. What should I watch? That's like kind of less, soapy and over the top. And I wrote her like basically a thesis of like, I'm like, well, if you want this genre and what often if you want this genre, and it was so much joy to do.
Aww.
And just like made me be like, oh my gosh, I need to like stop falling asleep on the couch every night so I can get back into watching. So that's my goal for this weekend is to get back on the train. The last thing that I really watched was Secretly Greatly on the plane on the way home.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember you said that. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which I hear it's coming to Vicky, so exciting. You two can watch it if you want.
Yeah, I totally want to watch it.
Yeah, I do. I want to watch it.
Kim
I'm glad it's
Soo-hyun
coming.
is a goat, just like one of these like Lee Min-ho. Just
Yeah.
they're so good that I take it for granted until I watch them, and then I'm reminded again how much not to take them for
How
granted.
good they are. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it then for our July Uncensored. It was really fun to see you guys again. And now, we're a little bit more back into the swing of things. So, yeah, I guess
We'll be
we'll
back
see
together
you.
again next week.
Yeah, we'll be back together again next week. So until then,
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yep.
Share your feet. You only have
Oh, you know what? Pause for 1 second. There's one thing
Yeah.
that I wanted to bring up really quick that I forgot, and I even brought up the email to remind me because
Oh, yeah.
we were gonna give it just like a shout out and a thank you to a listener from South Korea who emailed us. So I just wanted to say thank you to this listener. I'm not going to mention them by name because we didn't get their permission to do so. But I do want to thank this listener who let us know. I'm a listener from Seoul. Currently on episode 28, lots of episodes to catch up on. But we brought up in episode 28 the writer Im Sang-chun and introduced them as a male writer, and it's a female writer. And this was a very sweet, like lovely email. But that just let us know that, like, I'm sure that you know a lot more about who you're talking about now in your podcast and stuff like that, but we do make mistakes sometimes. Absolutely. And we absolutely want to know when we do. And so I'm very grateful to this and want to correct that mistake that we made way, way back in episode 28. And that Im Sang-chun is a female writer. And
if this listener has listened to this much feet reference,
oh my gosh.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Like, seriously, thank you. Like, we love hearing from our listeners. Love even more when they give us grace for making mistakes, and want to help. And that's so, so appreciated. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. So, all right. Well, we'll see you next week. Thanks again for listening.
Annyeong.
Annyeong.
감사합니다. Thank you for listening to Afternoona Delight. Where can you find us outside the pod? Head on over to afternoonadelight.com. That's AFTERNOONADELIGHT.com. You'll find links to all our social media, our book recs, K-pop and K-skincare recs, and if you want even more Afternoona Delight, because really who doesn't, you can join our Patreon, where you can choose the patron level that's right for you. Join in daily K-drama conversations, listen to bonus podcast episodes just for patrons, and participate in our monthly live K-drama support group via Zoom. We can't wait for you to be a part of the community. Until next time, annyeong!